Hopefully you did okay having a go at this brain teaser. Now let's have a go at this ourselves. So the first thing we want to do is to create a list. Okay, and we have to make sure that each list contains 4 elements at least. So okay, I'm going to start the first one. I think I'm going to have these as all words. So bird, let's go for fox, bear, mouse, and eagle. So there's my first list. Obviously I need to store this within a variable, so I'm just going to call this brain teaser. Okay, so that's the first thing done. I've created a list. Now I'm going to take that off, so I have the positive feedback. Dun-da-la, I created a list. So the next thing, I want to add a list within this list. So I'm just going to put here an extra comma, and then in this list, so I'm just going to use the square brackets again. I'm going to do 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So now we have a list within a list, and notice how it's comma separated between this element here and the one that comes after. Okay, so we've now added a list within that list successfully. Cool. So that's good. Next thing we want to do is add a list within this list. Okay, so I'll add a list in here and make sure it's comma separated between the elements. So use the square brackets to create the list, and then for this one I am going to do floats. I'm going to have 0.34, 0.34, 0.987, 0.33333, 0.5, and 0.912. So this way it's kind of easily discernible. You know, the first list kind of has, or the original list, let's say, has the strings. Then when we go in, we have the hundreds. Then within this list, they're all decimals. It's just kind of easier to discern between them now. Okay, so we've now added a list within a list within a list. So we're going to tick that one off. I'm just adding the equals because it looks nice. So each list does contain at least 4 elements, so that's good. Okay, so let's go on to the second part. Access the first 2 elements of the list within the original list. Okay, so this is the original list. So I'm going to access the first 2 elements of this list. So the first thing I'm going to try and do in a separate cell, I'm just going to run this so that it's stored. The first thing I want to try and do is just access that list in general. So I'm going to print brain teaser. So essentially, what we're going to do first is just using indexing. We're going to access this list. So in order to access this whole thing here, let's see what index this is. Well, bird is 0, fox is 1, bear is 2, so this one's going to be 3. So I'm going to put index 3. Okay, brilliant. So that's outputting that whole thing. Now it's saying I should output the first 2 elements, which is going to be the number 100, and then this list is going to be the second one. So now we want to start using, so I'm just going to put this in, so we want to be doing list slices. So if you remember what that is, we have the square brackets and then we use the colon to say we go from this starting index to up to but not including this index. So we could just put 0 here, but we can also leave it blank, and Python will assume that our start should be right at the start of the list. But also we want to access this within this list. So I need to put square brackets 3 first to access this whole thing. So if I just leave these both blank, of course this is Python's going to assume we want just the start, the first index and the last index, so output the same thing. So now we want to access the first 2, so we're going to put 0, we're going to leave that one blank, so we start from the beginning, and then we're going to put in 3 here. Because as you might remember in slicing, it goes up to but doesn't include this index. So we're just going to have, so actually we want to put that at 2, because we want it to be, we want to get the 0 index and the 1 index, but we don't want the 2 index, which is the third element. So there we go, we've got the 100 and we've got that list as well. If I were to put 3, then it would go up to, but not include index 3, which would be, so this is index 1, sorry, that's index 0, this one's index 0, this one's index 1, this one's index 2. So it would include that, but it wouldn't include index 3, which is what we don't want. We only want the first 2 elements. Okay, so we've done this one, so we can tick this off. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is access the last 3 elements of the list within the list within the list. Okay, So let's first start off by just accessing that list. So we want to go into the brain teaser, and so to get that main list we go index 3. Now we want to just get this list. So we're going to go into some more square brackets, and we're just going to go for index 1, because this 100 is the 0 index, this is the index 1. So now we have just the list that we want. So we want to get the last 3 elements. So what we can do, how many elements do we have? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5 elements, but it goes up to index 4, so we want to get the last 3. So essentially, we want to go from index, what's that, 0, 1, 2, then we can go all the way up to the end. So we can just put, we want to start from the index 2, we want to go all the way to the end. So hopefully this will output the last 3 elements in that list. Okay, and I believe, oh no, we want to output the whole thing backwards as well, which is actually very, very easy. All we have to do, we just put in print brain teaser. So we want to have everything from the beginning and the end. Now we're going to include the step. If you may remember, if we put in -1, that's going to reverse everything. So as you can see, it's gone eagle, mouse, then the whole list, and then the bear, fox, and bird. So that's good to me. Okay, so just to review what we've done here, is we've created a list first of all. We created a list within, and then we added a list to that, then we added a list into that one. And then first of all, we were able to just access, using indexing, we were able to access these 2 lists here. So we went 0, 1, 2, 3, and that was the index. So the syntax was name of the list, then square brackets 3. And then we were able to access, using indexing, some specifics within that list. And then we were able to go to a list within a list, and access some from there. And then finally we were able to reverse the list by using 2 colons and the -1. So yeah, that was a bit of oh, let me just add the tick, of course. So it was a bit of a brain exercise. It's just very good to just get used to these kind of confusing, fiddly, difficult lists, because it just makes you feel a lot more confident with using lists in the future. But really what's important is that you're able to at least create a list that contains another list, and that you're able to use indexing, and you're also able to get list slices to access different parts of the lists. So if you haven't done this practical yourself because it was just a bit too much, then just have a go at creating a list within a list and just play around with list indexes and list slicing as best you can. And then when you're ready, I'll see you in the next lecture.